Have you ever thought that suffering can teach us something valuable? This is a provocative question. Contemporary society tries at all costs to avoid pain, hiding it under a blanket of distractions and superficiality. Yet, in Buddhist philosophy, pain and suffering are not curses to be avoided, but rather teachers to be embraced. Today, we will explore the concept of noble suffering and discover why Buddhism not only embraces pain, but considers it a vehicle for personal growth and wisdom. Imagine you're in a forest. Every now and then you feel a sharp pain in your ankle. You've just stepped on a thorny branch. Your instinctive reaction is to immediately move away from that direction. But if, instead of running away, you stop and observe the pain, what might you learn from this experience? You might realize that your attention was drawn to the thorny branch because you weren't paying attention to your path. Then, rather than seeing the pain as an enemy to run from, you begin to see it as a warning, an invitation to be more present. This is the fundamental difference between how most people perceive pain and how Buddhism interprets it. But how can we apply this concept to everyday life? Let's begin by exploring noble suffering and see how it invites us to face our own personal suffering. Buddhism teaches us the four noble truths. The first is that suffering is an inevitable part of life. This may seem bleak, but let's look at it from another angle. Observing this fact prepares us to better manage difficulties. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by frustration when things don't go as we hoped, we can adopt a more resilient attitude. Let's take the example of a tree's growth. A tree that weathers storms and major disturbances develops deeper and stronger roots. Similarly, when we face difficulties, we too have the opportunity to become stronger and more aware. Suffering offers us a unique opportunity to grow, to ground our experiences, and build our resilience. But what is noble suffering? It is the suffering that helps us understand ourselves, connect with others, and become more empathetic. When we experience moments of pain, loneliness, or loss, we often realize we are not alone. Others face similar challenges. Suffering, after all, is a shared experience. This makes us more human. It unites us. The real question is, how can we transform pain into a teacher? Imagine experiencing a breakup. At first, the pain seems unbearable. But if you explore these emotions, what do you discover? Perhaps you learn more about your emotional needs. Maybe you realize you had invested too much in a relationship that wasn't nourishing you. This is the magic of noble suffering. It forces us to introspect. It's a gateway to growth. Another important aspect of noble suffering is the concept of attachment. Buddhism teaches that attachment leads to suffering. But what does attachment mean? Imagine having a precious object, something that holds great value for you. If that something is lost, your pain will be proportional to the value you placed on it. But if you learn to flow, not to become excessively attached to things, then the loss will have a different impact on you. Let's think about another everyday example: work. You might feel frustrated if you've been denied a promotion, but instead of letting it get to you, you could ask yourself what you're learning from this experience, how you can improve, or where you might look for new opportunities. Suffering, then, becomes an invitation to reflect and act. Pain is not a sign of weakness, but an opportunity to strengthen your determination and commitment. At this point, who among you has ever tried meditation? Meditation is a fundamental practice in Buddhism. It's not just a way to relax, but a method for exploring our pain and suffering. When we sit in silence and close our eyes, what emerges isn't always pleasant. In fact, anxieties, worries, and fears often surface. But it's precisely in that confrontation with internal pain that we can begin to recognize it, embrace it, and ultimately release it. It's a transformative process. If you're inspired by stories like this and don't want to miss more, Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any more secrets we reveal. Another crucial aspect is our reaction to suffering. Interestingly, sometimes our reaction to an unpleasant event can be more painful than the event itself. Buddhism teaches us to observe, to distance ourselves from our emotions. We don't have to be governed by pain, but we can use our experiences to recognize what is happening within us. In this process, we become more aware and more present. Imagine a particularly difficult day. Perhaps you're experiencing grief or intense frustration. Instead of reacting impulsively, try to pause. Take a deep breath and look at your pain as if it were a curious visitor. Ask yourself, what is this pain teaching me? This is the true essence of noble suffering. Not running away, but embracing. The story of a mother who loses a child is certainly one of the most touching we can think of. The suffering in this case is unspeakable. But many stories show us that these people are able to transform that pain into a message of love and justice. They fight for a cause, create foundations, speak out. Their suffering becomes a beacon of hope for others. This is the transformative power of noble suffering. It's important to distinguish between suffering and pain. Suffering is what we feel when we cling to pain. It's the cycle of thoughts and worries we generate. Pain, on the other hand, is a temporary experience. It's a feeling that emerges in a specific moment, an invitation to be present. When we learn to disidentify from suffering, we can begin to see pain as a teacher, not an enemy. In conclusion, the journey through pain and suffering can lead us to a greater understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Embracing noble suffering means developing compassion, both for ourselves and for others. It means recognizing that pain is an integral part of life, and through it we can discover a sense of profound connection with humanity. Remember, every time you face difficulty, there is a hidden opportunity. Every moment of pain is an invitation to explore, grow, and transform. It could be your greatest teacher if you only allow it to guide you with wisdom and openness. Suffering then becomes a path to freedom and personal fulfillment. Be ready to embrace your pain, because from it, your most authentic strength will emerge.